This first video has been designed as an introduction to Adobe Encore for Premiere CS3 users to provide a basic overview and understanding of the overall Encore DVD authoring process. For the purpose of the exercise, I've created a short video from which I'm going to make a DVD. I'm going to assume that my DVD will have a brief introductory clip which will play when it's put into the DVD player, followed by a main menu from which I can select any one of 3 chapters. After the DVD has been played, the viewer will be presented again with the main menu. I've chosen to have an animated menu background and animated buttons to make it a bit more interesting. I've done all of the necessary cutting and editing of the original video in Premiere, as Encore is principally an authoring tool and not designed as an editing platform. I'm going to add 2 additional chapter markers, as Premiere automatically adds one at the beginning of the timeline by selecting the Add Chapter Marker icon in the timeline panel. I'm going to add a title to each chapter, as I can use these titles in my DVD menus, as we shall see shortly. I could add the chapter markers later using Encore, however I can position them more accurately at this stage before the timeline is rendered to an MPEG-2 file, because of the GOP structure of MPEG-2. OK, with my timeline selected, I'll select File, Export, Export to Encore. At this stage you can elect to simply create a DVD without any menus, but I'm going to select the Author with Menus option. I can specify the type of disc I'll be using. I'm also going to use the Settings option to specify the quality settings I wish to use for the DVD. Because most of my movies are standard DVDs and are less than an hour long, I usually encode using a constant bit rate of about 8 megabits. But if you're going to create videos which are much longer, you should go for a 2-pass variable bitrate, which will take a bit longer to generate, but will enable Premiere to make the most of the available space on the DVD, without hopefully compromising too much on the quality of the final result. OK, I'll set the save location, and Premiere will render my DVD timeline for Encore. At the end of the process, Encore will be started and the generated MPEG-2 and associated audio file imported as an Encore timeline. I'm also going to import another short video clip which I've already created using Premiere, which I will use for the first play introduction. I need it in the form of a timeline, although I could create a timeline later for it if I forget. To do this, I select File, Import, Import as Timeline. I'm also going to import a second video clip, this time as an asset, which I'm going to use as the background to my main menu screen. Before I go any further, I'll give my project a name and save it. OK, if I now click the little blue timeline symbol in the project panel, my main timeline appears in the Encore workspace together with the chapter markers we added in Premiere. Encore timelines are similar to Premiere timelines, but are much less flexible. You can paste new clips or still images into them and make simple trims, but not much else. They're principally used in the authoring stage as part of the DVD navigation process. We could add additional chapter markers if we wanted, although as I said earlier, as the video is now a rendered MPEG-2 file, Encore would only allow us to place them at the beginning of GOP sequences of frames, so we don't have quite the precision we had in Premiere. The first thing we're going to do is to provide a menu to enable the viewer to start playing the video from any one of the 3 chapter markers we created during the editing process in Premiere. We'll see how to link to these markers in a moment. You can see down here on the right of the screen the menu library panel, which contains a large selection of pre-designed menus that have been provided by Adobe for you to use with your DVD. There is also a collection of pre-designed buttons, backgrounds, images, text types, etc. You can use these as they are or modify them to suit your own requirements. On this occasion I'm going to create my own menu by right-clicking the blank menu in the Library panel, which is in the General category, and selecting Create New Menu, and my new menu appears in the Menu Viewer panel. I'll rename my menu as Main Menu. Now I'll add a background to it. I could just drag on a JPEG still image, but instead I'm going to create a moving video background by going to the Motion pane in the Menu's Property panel. I can now drag the mouse from the Video field in the Motion panel to the Video clip in the Project panel that I'm using as the menu background. The blue line that is drawn across the screen as I do this is referred to as a pick whip. This little squiggle denotes that a link can be pick whipped. I'll do the same for the audio clip that I've elected to play when the menu is displayed. Note that I'm linking to the same clip. Encore provides a separate link for the audio clip to provide more flexibility. In the Menu Properties panel, I can specify how long I want the main menu video clip to run for before it loops again or terminates or whatever. I'm going to select 25 seconds. I'll add a title now using the horizontal text tool. I could just simply type in my title, but I'm going to drag out a box with the text tool first so that my title text will wrap around in the space I want to use. To make it a bit prettier, I'll add a red drop shadow by going to the Styles panel and selecting one of the text styles, right-clicking it and selecting Apply Style. OK, now we need to create the 3 buttons so that the viewer will be able to play from the start of each of the 3 chapters. To do that, I'll select a button from the Libraries panel by clicking the button icon and scrolling down to find one I like. I can preview what each button looks like in the panel by just clicking it. Notice that there are 2 types of button, non-video and video. You can create your own buttons, as we shall see later in one of the other videos, but to keep things simple, I'm just going to select one of the video buttons from the Library panel. For the sake of the exercise, I'm going to opt for the Party Video button. I can just drag it onto the menu or right-click it and select Place. Using the Select tool, I can now resize it and position it as I please.